Okay, so we're going to go over 10.3 today, geometric sequence and series. First, we're going to look on page 19 and look at the geometric sequences. A geometric sequence is a sequence in which each term after the first is the product of the previous term and a constant called the constant ratio. So you're multiplying to get each term. To find the nth term of a geometric sequence, you're going to use the equation a sub n equals a sub 1 times r to the n minus 1, where a sub 1 is the first term, r is the common ratio, and n is any positive integer. So r is what you're multiplying by to get the next number. Okay, so the first example, it says to find the next two terms of the geometric sequence, 1200, 480, 192. Okay, so to get the ratio, what you have to multiply by to get the next number, I'm going to take two consecutive numbers. Okay, take the second number, divide by the one before it, and that's going to give you the ratio what you're multiplying by. Okay, so in this case, 480 divided by 1200 is going to be 0.4. And that's what your r is going to be. So to get my next value here after 192, we're going to take 192 times 0.4, and that's 76.8. So that's the next number, or the next term, in the sequence. And the fifth number, I'm going to take 76.8, multiply that times 0.4, and I get 30.72, and that's my fifth number in the sequence. Okay? So let's look at your first part, your first section. It says find a sub n, number 1. They give you a sub 1 is negative 10, r is 4, and n is 2. And they want you to find a sub n. So we're going to use the equation they gave us at the beginning. Okay, a sub n is what I'm going to solve for. A sub 1 is negative 10, r is 4, and then the n is 2. So order of operations, you want to take your base and raise it to the power, whatever it's going to be. In this case, 2 minus 1, it's just going to be the first power, right? So it's really not going to change your value for the base. So you're going to wind up with a sub n equals negative 10 times 4, which is going to be 40. Negative 40, sorry. So that's going to be your a sub n for this problem. Any questions? The trick here is, remember your order of operations. You have to take the power to the base first and then multiply by whatever number's in front. Okay, so let's look at number 3 on your sheet. They give you a sub 3 is 9, r is negative 3, and n is 7. To find your a sub n number, I need a sub 1. That's what the equation is calling for. Well, they don't give me a sub 1, they're just giving me a sub 3. So to find that, we're going to use the ratio. I know that each number in the sequence is multiplied by negative 3 to get the next value. So to work backwards, I'm going to do the opposite. Okay, so I can get a sub 2 by dividing instead of multiplying, right? So I can take a sub 3 divide by negative 3, the ratio, and a sub 2 is negative 3. Then I'm going to take a sub 2 and divide it by negative 3 again to get a sub 1. So your first number in that sequence is 1, and that's what you will start with to find a sub n. Any questions? So you still need to go back and find your a sub n on that one.
So you always define the next term you have to, or it gives you the ratio. You always have to multiply though
if you're moving forward, if you want to find the next number, you multiply by the r. If you want to find the number before that, you divide by the r. You do the opposite. Okay, let's look on the other side of your paper. Page 20. A geometric series is the sum of the terms of a geometric sequence. The sum of the first n terms of a series is denoted S sub n. And they give you two equations to find S sub n. So it just matters what information they give you, and you have to look at your equations and decide which one you're going to use. Okay? You don't have to use one particular one all the time. It just depends on what information you have. So your first equation they give you is S sub n equals a sub 1 minus a sub 1 times r to the n power over 1 minus r. Okay, so for this one you need to know a sub 1, r, and n. In your second equation, a sub 1 minus a sub n times r over 1 minus r. So this one you have to know a sub n, r, and a sub 1. Okay, so let's look at the first example. They're giving you the summation symbol, and instead of an n, they're using k. So in your problems on your paper, sometimes they have a k instead of n, but don't let that confuse you because it's the same thing as this n, okay, and that n. If you would rather write it as an n, that's fine. You can go ahead and change it yourself. Alright, so to get my a sub 1, I'm going to take my bottom number, 2, and substitute it in. So a sub 1 is going to be 5 times 3 to the 2 minus 1 power. Okay, so 2 minus 1 is going to be 1, right? 3 to the first power is just 3. Times 5, that's going to be 15. Now your a sub n is your last number that you're going to find the sum with. I'm going to take the top number here, the 7, substitute it in to get a sub n. So I'm going to have 5 times 3 to the 7 minus 1. So I need to find the base to the power first. 3 to the 6th power. I'm getting 729, and then times 5, 3,645. So I'm going to use this second equation. Okay? Now the r is whatever your base is. It's the rate that you're using to multiply by. So r is 3. So now I have everything I need to use that second equation for the sum. And I'm just going to substitute the values in. So a sub 1 is 15 minus a sub r, or a sub n, sorry, which is 3,645 times your r, which is 3, all over 1 minus r. So now we need to do our calculations. So for this top number, I'm getting negative 10,920, and I need to divide that by negative 2. And that gives me positive 5,460 for my sum. Any questions? Okay, let's do one last example. Is everybody finished here? Let's look at that example 2 on your paper. It says find a sub 1 in a geometric series for which s sub n equals 1,530. n is 8, and r is 2. So we are going to use this equation, s sub n equals a sub 1 minus a sub 1 times r to the n all over 1 minus r. Let's use that equation. Okay, so I'm just going to substitute values in, and I want to solve for a sub 1. So we have 1,530 equals a sub 1 is going to stay a variable, minus a sub 1 times r, which is 2, to the 8th power, over 1 minus r, which is 2. Okay, so 2 to the 8th power is going to be what? What is 2 to the 8th power? 256. Okay, so 1,530 equals a minus 256a over negative 1. So when I combine my like terms in the numerator, what is that going to be? What is a minus 256a's?
Negative 255.
That's right. It's going to be negative 255a over negative 1. Okay, so when I have a negative divided by a negative, that's going to make them both positive. So now all I need to do to solve for a is divide by 255. And that should be 6 when you divide. So your a sub 1 is going to be 6. Okay, let me tell you one more thing before you can start on your assignment. On that last problem we did, if you wanted to find out what n was in your equation for like the top equation, when you have r to the n, if you want to find out what that n is, you're going to take the top number, subtract the bottom number, and then add one back. So n is going to be 7 minus 2 and add one back, so that'll be 6. So if you wanted to use that first sum equation, that's how you'd want to get the n.